Sometimes a single tragic event can become a flashpoint for something much, much bigger. What could have been just another sad headline about a student's death at a medical college in Pakistan, instead, it ignited a movement, and that movement forced an entire province to take a hard look at its mental health crisis. We're going to break down how this one event sparked a massive systemic reform. Right off the bat, here's a quote from one of the protesting students, and wow, it is chilling. This immediately tells you that we're not talking about an isolated incident. It suggests this might be part of a deeply disturbing pattern. So, our story kicks off with the death of a female student at the Avicenna Medical College in Lahore. The circumstances were murky, but this single event, as we'll see, became the catalyst for everything that happened next. Now, this wasn't some quiet tragedy that got swept under the rug. Not at all. Almost right away, dozens of her fellow students hit the streets. And they weren't just mourning, they were angry. They were pointing the finger directly at the college administration, calling out what they described as a toxic environment that was built on years of really rigid, punishing discipline. The students' allegations were incredibly specific and, frankly, damning. They were claiming their friend died because of overwhelming mental stress. They painted this picture of an atmosphere of constant fear, talking about humiliating public punishments, harassment from a faculty member, and these financially crippling fines for tiny mistakes. And here's the thing, the students insisted this wasn't a new problem at all. They said this was a long-standing culture of control, and as it turns out, there's actually a documented history that backs up these really serious accusations. This slide really shows that pattern of pretty extreme measures. On the left, you see an incident from 2018 where the administration literally collected and smashed student cell phones. And on the right, the exact same issues that sparked the 2024 protest. It kind of suggests that this heavy-handed approach to discipline hadn't softened one bit over the years. And these fines weren't just pocket change. They could go as high as 100,000 Pakistani rupees. To put that in perspective, that is 100 times the standard guideline. This put just an immense amount of financial and psychological pressure, not just on the students, but on their whole families. As one student put it so well, this place of higher learning felt less like a university and more like a punitive institution. It seems like the focus was all on discipline and control, not so much on education or, the students' well-being. So the student protest was, it was remarkably effective. It set off this whole chain reaction of consequences. Let's dig into how this grassroots movement first wrung concessions out of the college itself and then blew up into multiple high-level investigations that took this story national. Faced with all this public pressure, the college management had to act, and they acted fast. Removing the accused professor, that was a huge win for the students who felt targeted. Getting rid of that fine policy, that took away a key source of stress. And by changing their rules to match the universities and creating a student grievance committee, the administration was basically forced to admit they needed to be more transparent and actually listen to their students. But the story didn't just stop at the college gates. The protest had gotten national attention, and the allegations were just too serious to ignore. Things escalated in a big way when two major regulatory bodies launched their own official investigations into the college. And these weren't some minor inquiries. We're talking about investigations from the big guns, both the Provincial University of Health Sciences, which the college is affiliated with, and the Pakistan Medical and Dental Council. That's the top medical regulatory body in the entire country. This was officially a national issue now. The president of that national council, Professor Dr. Rizwan Taj, he put out this really powerful statement. It made it crystal clear this was not being taken lightly. He was sending a message to all medical colleges that the old way of doing things, high pressure, low support, was just not acceptable anymore. Okay, and here is where the story really pivots. A crisis at just one college becomes the spark for sweeping systemic change across the entire province of Punjab. This is the moment a protest truly turned into a reform movement. The single biggest thing to come out of all this was a new directive from the University of Health Sciences. And this wasn't just a suggestion for that one college. It was a mandatory order that was about to reshape student support systems across the whole province. And the scope of this mandate was just enormous. It applied to all 56 affiliated institutions in the province. Every single public and private medical college. We're not talking about a small fix here. This was a province-wide overhaul of student mental health policy. At the very heart of this new mandate was the required creation of student counseling cells, or SCCs. The goal was to create a formal, safe, and confidential place inside every single college for students, faculty, and even staff who were struggling with the intense pressures of medical school. And look, these cells were not just designed to be some token gesture. The directive got super specific to make sure they'd actually work. By including students on the committee, you give them a voice in their own well-being. By requiring leaders with real counseling expertise and making them follow national anti-harassment policies, they were trying to build a robust, professional, and trustworthy support system right from the ground up. The university's official letter really frames this whole move perfectly, and it's a powerful statement. They didn't just position this as a reaction to a crisis, they framed it as them fulfilling a fundamental duty to ensure the holistic well-being of students. They were acknowledging that in a field this demanding, academic success and mental health have to go hand in hand. So in the end, the tragic death of one student and the brave protests that followed forced an entire educational system to confront a really difficult truth. This whole story is a powerful reminder that academic rigor should never, ever come at the cost of human well-being. It proves that when students stand together and demand change, they can reshape the very institutions they're part of and create a safer, healthier future for everyone who comes after them.